In my previous video, I performed the silver tree experiment where pure silver crystals are grown from a silver nitrate solution on a copper wire. It's a very beautiful demonstration, and in this video I'd like to take those silver crystals and melt them down into a single bead for display purposes. If you'd like to see the video on growing the silver tree, there'll be a link down below.
Okay, I filtered my silver out of the solution and I rinsed it several times with distilled water, and here's the result. It's 1 gram of silver, just like I expected. However, my scale is only accurate to 1/10 of a gram, so I'm betting that this is more like 0.9 grams. I don't quite trust the tenths digit on my scale. But anyways, it's close to a gram, which is pretty good. And it looks like pretty good quality, I think. Nice and shiny little needles. However, one thing that I've learned doing this is that no matter how many times you've done an experiment or you've seen an experiment done, every single time it's a brand new experiment and things can happen differently than the way you expect them to. For instance, check out my copper wire that I had in there. It's red. There's got some reddish discoloration down in the part that was in the solution. You can see the difference from down here versus the shiny copper up here. And I think that is copper 1 oxide. It's a very red color, and that's never happened to me before. And actually, it contaminated some of my copper crystals. So you can see I tried to rinse some of it off. This is from the first rinse through from the filter paper. There's a little bit of silver in there, but it's fairly red. So there was a lot of little bits of this copper oxide in there, which is strange. That's never happened to me before. Even though I've done this demonstration many, many times, that's never actually happened. I think maybe this time my solution was fairly concentrated, or at least more concentrated than I usually do. So silver nitrate and copper nitrate being oxidizers possibly oxidized my copper wire here and made that red copper oxide. So perhaps concentration has something to do with it. Maybe also, remember my copper wire was a little bit tarnished when I put it in there. Maybe that tarnishing was, I don't know, sort of a catalyst to making this oxide. So I'm not quite sure. But that was interesting to me that happened. So I tried to remove most of the red oxide powder that was floating around in solution to get most of my silver powder back. And that's another reason why I don't really trust my scale completely, because I bet you that's about 0.1 grams worth of material. So this is probably more likely 0.9 grams. So anyways, now that I've got my relatively pure silver powder, what I'd like to do is melt it down into a bead. So let's take it outside and I'll show you the furnace. Alright, we're outside now, and the first thing I want to do is go over my little mini furnace. It's a new thing that I just purchased and haven't used in any videos yet. It's a 4-inch furnace that's powered by propane. So you can see I've got a propane burner over here that goes off to a propane tank over there. And this is, as I said, a 4-inch furnace that's got 2 ports on it. You can see there's one back here that's plugged with a graphite plug, and there's an open one here that the torch goes into. So you can use 2 burners here if you like. I only have 1, but 2 would certainly make things go faster. It's insulated with K-wall on the inside, and I've also got a little graphite spacer. So that's just a block of graphite that can raise my crucible up. And then, speaking of the crucible, this is it. It's a little porcelain ceramic thing. And then it's got this lid that goes on top of it to help insulate it. So what I'm going to do is put my silver powder into my crucible, melt it down, and then pour it into some water to form a nice little bead. But before I do that, what we have to do is prepare the crucible. So what we want to do is put a little bit of borax in this. So I have some anhydrous borax. It's important that it's anhydrous borax. You don't want to use stuff that you buy in the store just right out of the box, because that is a hydrated version, and it can produce water when you heat it up, which could cause foaming or maybe little pops and crackles and things, which wouldn't be very good. So we want to have anhydrous borax for this, and what that's going to do is create a glassy surface that the molten metal will slide around on, and the borax also helps to draw out impurities and yield you a more pure product in the end. So let's do that. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and preheat the crucible first so that the borax powder doesn't just blow away. It should stick to it a little bit, and that'll help. Okay, now start sprinkling in the borax. Alright, I got the furnace going, and I've added the silver powder to my crucible. You can see it in there. And now I'll just drop it into the furnace and let it heat up. Put the lid on it as well. The nice thing about having a tiny furnace like this is that it heats up very, very quickly, so we don't have to spend too long in the melting process. Here's a view inside the crucible as it heats up. Only about 20 seconds after that last clip and we're already significantly melted. It's getting there. It's pretty cool. So watch all these little needles and powder and stuff congeal together into one shiny blob. That's pretty awesome. Look, you can see it slide. That's from the borax. The borax doesn't want to stick to the crucible, so it should be pretty easy to pour out if I coated the whole inside of the crucible well enough. Now, while it is totally molten now, I'm going to let it heat up just for a little while longer, just to hopefully make for a easier pour, so it doesn't sort of solidify on its way out of the crucible. Alright, it's only been a few more minutes, but I think we're ready to pour. You can see I've got a thing of water here that I'm going to put it into to make a nice little bead. That wasn't the best pour in the world. Yeah, you can see I got some of it stuck to the edge of the crucible here, so I don't think I coated everything in borax. So that's why it's important to do that, especially when you're dealing with precious metals like this. You don't want to lose any. Well, here's my melted bead of silver. It didn't form a nice little sphere like I'd hoped. Maybe I just needed a bigger source of water or something. But it looks pretty cool. It's very white and shiny, as silver should be. And you can see I got two little tiny bits of it that didn't quite congeal. Also, in the crucible, you see I had some of it got stuck on the way out, so I bet you I just didn't use enough borax. I'll admit that's the first time I'd ever tried to use borax for metallurgy, so I probably didn't use quite enough of it. And if anybody has any experience with that sort of thing, I'd like to hear from you in the comments. There you have it. That's the silver tree, and there's my pure silver that I produce. Thanks a lot for watching.